familial. You know, if I have a big brother and my big brother is there to take care of me, as long as I play by the rules of the family and abide by the laws, why should I be concerned that big brother's watching what the hell who cares, right? Right? Now, that's not Foucauldian, right? The idea is, though, as our societies change, we need to reassess the systems of governance, we need to reassess the relationships, and this balance is what the political philosopher does, right? This is what the political philosopher does. I identify myself as a socio-political philosopher, and part of the disharmony between systems of governments, institutions of power, especially academia, is for me to bring balance to the universe, in a sense, by uploading free lectures. So instead of talking about it, I'm doing it. And many others are doing it just like me, right? The act of uploading these free lectures, hundreds of hours of them, and motivating others to do it, is to bring balance back to the populace. The populace is saying, we want to be educated, we want knowledge, we want to learn, but we don't have $3,000 per class. We don't have that type of money. You can't just then say, well, you can't gain access. No, a system needs to be constructed with which individuals from the social can make these demands and have their demands satisfied. It requires a ridiculous amount of labor on my part and ridiculous amount of, sort of virtual philanthropy, if you want to call it that. But somebody's got to do the job, right? So, when I read a lot, and the reason why I spent so much, we're like half an hour in, and I've only addressed the first bit. But, for me, this is what I want it to be, right? The political philosopher is concerned with the balance of interest. Like, I really live that. Like, I really live that. I really believe in that, right? And it's not just talking about it, it's doing it, right? It is returning balance to something that is inherently benefiting the interests of a very select population. Now, granted, I don't want to seem like the freaking, I don't want to look like Mother Teresa and assume that this is some all, altruistic. Because one, I recognize that people watching these videos are themselves sort of in the most marginalized groups within society, because the vast majority of people aren't going to spend 60 hours of their life listening to someone lecture about some crap that doesn't apply to the stuff that they do every day. But there is a demand within society from marginalized populations. Granted, the marginalization that I appeal to, the outlier community, is one of excellence. I mean, everything, you guys should recognize the pattern by now. You should recognize this, right? There is within the stratified social an outlier community of excellence. And that outlier community of excellence is the community that I work for. I work for that community. All of my service, all of my effort is to that community. So you who are watching this right now, you're the reason why I'm here right now. You could be a billionaire, but I doubt it. I've looked at my demographics right, on YouTube. You're probably a white guy between 45 and 60. There's an older population of white men who watch my videos. So I'm working for the white man. Some things change, some things stay the same. But I don't have a problem with that, because you are the community of viewers. You are the people. I work for you, and I willingly work for you. I graciously work for you. Right? It's bizarre to say it, because it's so obscene to say it as a black man. But you're my community, right? You're where I go for motivation. Honest to God, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. So moving on. Yeah, but it's true. It's true. All right, focus, Jason. But as I said, it was a bit of a rant. It was more than a bit of a rant. It was a ridiculous rant. But I mean, it's undeniably important for me. It's this is what it's all about. All right, so next bit, and I might have to break this. I might have to break section 1.1 into multiple parts. Maybe it might end up being more than just an hour. It might be an hour and a half, or maybe even 2 hours. The idea is I'm not going to censor myself because of time. I'm going to speak on a topic as much as I want to speak on a topic, and then I'll stop speaking when I feel like stop speaking, because, as I said, this particular series is going to be something that I'm interested in, obviously, because my degree is in socio-political philosophy. So, all right. Practical functionality and state interests, right? So we're going to talk about, for me as a philosopher, it's very important to take the rather esoteric, sort of mind-numbing abstraction and operationalize that, turn it into a machine, into a system, which ultimately ends up affecting the population and the state, right? So everything that we're theorizing here is done for the specific purpose to operationalize these concepts in new legislation, in new social movements, in new social reform, and more efficiency in the representational relationship between the stratified social and the bureaucratic state. Okay, so balance within the state, mitigating competing interests, and I actually, well, I can do it. I'll talk about this a bit. Internal to the state. Internal balance to the state is imperative. I'm not going to get into it too much, right? And I think there's a means with which we have to recognize that just sort of obvious filibustering, just sort of gridlock, grandstanding, puts our state within the U.S. or any state, anywhere in the world, any form of governments in jeopardy. It puts it in peril because what ends up happening is the following. And I might actually have to get a little ghetto with this because the idea is that complex. As we said before, how do I make this palatable? Social evolution, say post-World War II, right? Social evolution post-World War II, social evolution, so World War II as a historical sort of line of demarcation. All things before, all things after. Think about how much time passed. Think about, we're talking about, human beings crawling out of the sludge, right? So from man crawling out of the ocean, pre-man crawling out of the ocean, to World War II, think about socially how much society evolved. Significantly, granted, and this is debatable, which is why it's a perfect dissertation topic, right? This is debatable. I would say, but it's ridiculous, the exponential societal evolutionary transformation. Right? And even the ability to try and discuss it is difficult because it doesn't readily lend itself to quantification or verification. It's more qualitative, less quantitative. But qualitatively speaking, think about all the rights-based initiatives that happened post-World War II. Holy crap! Society's evolving as, rapid social evolution. You have something like a gridlock within the state, right? Social bureaucracy, not social bureaucracy, political bureaucracy gridlocks the state. And the state, in a sense, becomes fixed and static. So the state wants to stay here. You think society is going to stay there, wherever there is, metaphorically speaking? No, society is rapidly moving on to the next. We want more. We want more. And not in this very sort of consumptive, or that's not, I'm not sure. This consumerist, that vernacular should be rejected. We want more representation, right? Always representation, right? There has to be a more ingrained representation that we are making demands of by the state. If the state is fixed and doesn't want to move because of gridlock and bureaucracy and blah, 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 the state isn't working, functioning properly, society can outpace the state. Society and the state should be one in one. It should be hand in hand. It should be hand in hand, hand in hand, hand in hand. Social transformations, political collapse, social revolt, social upheaval always manifests because the state gets it twisted. The state thinks, oh, we're going to sit down here and debate for 2 decades some really stupid nuanced point like should blacks be able to vote, should women be able to vote. We're going to sit down and think about this. Let us think about it. We're going to think about for the next 40 years whether or not gays should be able to get married. Let's think about that for 40 years. Let's pass laws and then reject the laws and pass the laws and then turn it over the laws. We'll think about that. We're thinking, and society's like, wait a second, you guys are still on that? You guys are still over here? We're over here. You still? Oh, no, we need to, no, okay. Okay, election season's coming on. We want a whole new crop of representatives. And if you cannot get that new crop of representatives that can then align their interests with the interests of the rapidly